Born in 1958 in the charming steel town of Gary, Indiana, where dreams are forged between factory fumes and Friday night soul records, Michael Joseph Jackson moonwalked his way from the modest halls of the Jackson family home to the marble floors of global superstardom. Before he could even spell Grammy, young Michael was melting hearts alongside his brothers in the Jackson 5, breaking Billboard records while most kids his age were still stuck in math class. At just 11, he was already claiming back-to-back #1 hits like he was ordering takeout. But the real fireworks began in the 1980s, when he launched his solo career and moonwalked straight into history. With blockbuster albums like Off the Wall, Bad, Dangerous, and of course, the world-dominating Thriller, he didn't just top charts. He set them on fire, then casually did a spin move on the ashes. Michael wasn't just a singer. He was a human jukebox with style, rhythm, and a wardrobe that could blind a bat. He smashed racial barriers on MTV, became the first black artist to dominate mainstream pop, and performed dance moves so sharp they could slice cheese. Awards? Try 15 Grammys, 26 American Music Awards, and more Guinness World Records than your average Olympic gymnast. But behind the sparkle glove and high-pitched hee-hees, Michael was also a magnet for controversy. Plastic surgeries, bizarre interviews, and legal sagas that spun like his famous turn on stage. Yet even those scandals couldn't outshine his musical genius. His death in 2009 from a drug-related cardiac arrest stunned the world and sparked more theories than a UFO sighting. But here's the kicker. Even in death, Michael Jackson is still one of the top-earning celebrities in the world. His life was a roller coaster of rhythm, rhinestones, and really expensive lawsuits. But no one, not even aliens with Spotify, can deny that the king of pop moonwalked where no man had ever moonwalked before. Now imagine if Peter Pan had $1 billion and a fascination with llamas, theme parks, and toy trains. You'd basically get Michael Jackson's legendary Neverland Ranch. Tucked into 2,700 acres of Santa Barbara real estate and originally purchased in the late 1980s, this wasn't your average pop star hideout. Nope, Neverland was Michael's personal Disneyland meets zoological wonderland, equipped with its own zoo, Ferris wheel, roller coaster, toy railroad, and more statues than an ancient Roman villa. At the heart of it stood a mansion so palatial, it made Buckingham Palace look like an Airbnb. The gates alone, dripping in gold accents and grandeur, reportedly cost $30,000. And that's before you count the life-size giraffes and miniature trains chugging through his backyard like a surreal fever dream. This place wasn't just a home, it was a 100 million-sized "I didn't have a childhood, so I'm buying one now" declaration. The ranch also doubled as a home to dozens of exotic animals, including elephants, tigers, and a chimp named Bubbles, who was basically Michael's furry, banana-loving roommate. But after Jackson's legal woes and dwindling finances, Neverland turned from dreamland to ghost town. Following years of abandonment and media drone flyovers that turned it into pop culture's spookiest mansion, the estate was eventually sold. In 2020 for a mere $22 million to billionaire Ron Burkle, a former associate of Jackson who might have just wanted to relive his childhood too, or maybe finally use that roller coaster without paparazzi hiding in the bushes. Neverland remains one of the most iconic symbols of celebrity excess, a place where fantasy and fame collided at full speed. And while most of us can't even afford parking near Disneyland, Michael Jackson built one in his backyard. As one fan once put it, he didn't grow up, so he bought his childhood back. Only in America, or in Neverland. While most of us are out here trying to afford rent without selling a kidney, Michael Jackson was hopping between multi-million-dollar homes like he was playing Monopoly on expert mode. Long before Airbnbs and overpriced hotel suites, Michael had a catalog of mansions that could double as luxury resorts, each one a different flavor of extravagance. His family's first palace of pop was the Encino compound in Los Angeles, a Mediterranean-style mansion that saw the rise of the Jackson dynasty under the watchful eye, or iron grip depending on who you ask, of patriarch Joe Jackson. Later, it became the quiet, posthumous residence of Michael's children and mother Catherine, because when you inherit a pop kingdom, downsizing isn't an option. Then there was the Calabasas mansion, clocking in at nearly 2,000 square meters, with enough space for a basketball team, 3 poodles, and a marching band. Purchased for around $11 million, it wasn't just a house. It was a full-blown statement. I may be gone, but my real estate portfolio lives on. But perhaps the most hauntingly glamorous of his many homes was the one where he took his final breath, the Holmby Hills rental. Surrounded by lush greenery and rented for a jaw-dropping $100,000 a month, this house had classic columns, polished marble floors, and more velvet than a Vegas showroom. Rumor has it Michael was thinking of buying it permanently, which raises the question, was he casually test-driving mansions the way we test-drive used Toyotas? After his passing, the house was sold in 2012 for $18 million, probably with a sage. Smudge stick included just in case. These homes weren't just places to sleep. They were stages for a man who lived like a myth. And while we're stuck arguing over thermostat settings, Michael had mansions with thermostats probably made of Swarovski crystals. For the king of pop, home wasn't where the heart is, it was wherever the property tax bill made your jaw drop. If Los Angeles was Michael Jackson's playground, then New York was his ultra-chic velvet-roped VIP lounge, and nestled within its towering skyline was his glitzy hideaway inside the infamous Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. That's right. While most folks were using subway tokens and dodging pigeons, Michael was gliding through polished marble hallways with a private elevator key and a front row view of Central Park that even billionaires salivate over. The apartment, rumored to be his love nest after secretly marrying Lisa Marie Presley, had 4 bedrooms, high ceilings, and a luxury interior so sleek it could moonwalk on its own. Renovated to match his famously eccentric tastes, the space was drenched in black, gold, and just enough sparkle to make Liberace say, "Tone it down, Mike." Of course, all this pizzazz didn't come cheap. The rent alone was reportedly $110,000 a month. That's right, a 6-figure monthly rent for a man who probably wore pajamas worth more than your car. The Trump Tower, owned by none other than Donald Trump himself, wasn't just a building. It was a monument to ego, excess, and the kind of address where even the janitors wore suits. While Michael never bought the unit outright, his stint there left a pop star imprint that still echoes through its marble halls. In fact, football superstar Cristiano Ronaldo now owns a unit on the 23rd floor, proving that if these walls could talk, they'd probably sing in falsetto and demand royalties. But Michael's life in the tower wasn't just about location. It was a testament to how he managed to turn every living space into a performance piece. While the rest of us dream of rent control, he dreamt in gold-plated bathtubs and 5-star room service. And let's face it, if you're going to hide from paparazzi, do it with a view of Central Park and a doorman named Giuseppe who calls you Your Majesty. If luxury cars were Pokemon, Michael Jackson would have completed the collection twice. The king of pop didn't just own vehicles. He curated a fleet so vast it reportedly required 5 full-sized warehouses to store. That's not a garage. That's a personal museum of horsepower, glitter, and custom upholstery that smelled like moonwalk ambition. At the center of this chrome kingdom was the iconic 1990 Rolls-Royce Silver Spur 2 limousine, a vehicle so elegant it might have refused to honk unless it was in perfect pitch. Covered in 24-karat gold trim with crystal accents, this wasn't transportation. It was royalty on wheels. But why stop at one golden chariot when you can have a matching Rolls-Royce Silver Seraph, a 1954 Cadillac Fleetwood, and a 1998 Lincoln? Town car that looked like it belonged to a Secret Service unit for sequin generals? Oh, and let's not forget the 1985 Mercedes-Benz 500 SEL, which was auctioned off posthumously for a mere $108,000. Or as MJ fans call it, a priceless bargain with leather seats. Then there was the 2001 Harley-Davidson police motorcycle, because apparently even Michael wanted to feel like a high-speed sheriff of Sparkle. Whether it was for performance, collecting, or just dramatic arrivals at Taco Bell, hey, we can dream, these rides weren't just machines, they were rolling. Testaments to opulence. And while the average Joe prays his Corolla doesn't make a weird noise in the morning, Michael was choosing between vehicles like he was picking an outfit for the VMAs. With so many cars that each told a different story, one has to wonder, did he actually remember where he parked them all? Probably not. But when you're the king of pop, your valet has a valet. This was transportation taken to such absurd heights that even James Bond might have said, "Okay, now you're just showing off." Michael Jackson didn't just spend like a pop star. He shopped like a whimsical time traveler with a black card and zero adult supervision. Forget basic luxuries. We're talking about purchases so odd they'd make a genie go, "You sure about that wish?" Let's start with the entrance gate at Neverland, which cost a casual $30,000, because apparently nothing screams welcome like a door that costs more than a college degree. Then there's the legendary Oscar statuette for Gone With the Wind, which he bought in the 90s for a jaw-dropping $1.5 million, presumably because regular decorations like vases and scented candles were too mainstream. Michael was also a known statue hoarder. Think marble angels, gold-plated warriors, and enough Greco-Roman flair to make Caesar blush. But even in death, MJ's taste for the eccentric lives on, thanks to a booming auction market where fans with deep pockets compete for his most bizarre relics. Case in point, the iconic crystal-studded glove sold for $200,000 in Texas. Yes, a single glove, not a pair, because symmetry is optional when you're a legend. Then there's the Thriller jacket, which 2 years after his death was auctioned off for $1.8 million, officially making it the most expensive piece of zombie fashion ever sold. Even the mold used for his vampire fangs in the Thriller video found its way to auction, because somewhere out there someone desperately wanted Michael's bite. Literally. For the king of pop, shopping was never about practicality. It was performance art. While most of us debate if we can splurge on premium Netflix, MJ was casually buying history and turning it into legacy. His purchasing habits were half museum of pop culture, half yard sale hosted by Willy Wonka. But here's the real twist. Every odd thing he bought eventually gained value, proving that in the world of fame, even your most random purchases can moonwalk into million-dollar artifacts. When your last name is Jackson and your dad was the king of pop, you don't just inherit a legacy. You inherit a lifestyle that makes most royal families look like they're living off coupons. Michael Jackson's 3 children, Prince, Paris, and Blanket, now known as Biggie because apparently Blanket was a tough name to yell across a parking lot, didn't just get emotional baggage and paparazzi flashbacks, they got a slice of a billion-dollar empire served with luxury. Toppings. Prince Michael Jackson Y, the eldest, has embraced his role as motorcycle enthusiast and vlogger-in-chief, often seen roaring through highways on a sleek Harley-Davidson Lowrider S, a bike that screams, "I'm cool, but my dad moonwalked." The bike alone costs upwards of $20,000, which is roughly what most 20-somethings spend on rent, in 2 years. Then there's Paris Jackson, the multi-talented middle child, who decided that merely being Michael's daughter wasn't enough, and launched her own career in music, modeling, and acting. She's been spotted cruising around in a rugged Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, a $90,000 ride that can survive earthquakes, paparazzi, and probably awkward red carpet interviews. Her Instagram gives off energy that's 1 part free-spirited artist, 1 part heiress who knows she doesn't need to split the check. Meanwhile, the youngest, Biggie Jackson, prefers to live far from the flashing lights. But when he turned 18, he made a power move by buying a $2.6 million Calabasas mansion with 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, and more marble than a Roman bathhouse. And while most teens celebrate adulthood with a party and maybe a new pair of sneakers, Biggie celebrated by buying a home that could host a Super Bowl halftime show. Despite the enormous pressure of carrying on a global legacy, the Jackson kids have navigated fame with surprising grace, and just enough flair to remind us that glitter, style, and luxury are probably genetic. They didn't just inherit Michael's money, they inherited his unspoken motto. If you're going to live, do it like your house has its own zip code. Rikoi. It's one thing to dominate the music charts, but it's a whole different moonwalk when you dominate your rival's royalties too. And that's exactly what Michael Jackson pulled off in one of the most legendary business moves in music. History. Back in 1985, while most of the world was busy figuring out how to use cassette players without eating the tape, Michael was busy playing chess while everyone else was playing Hungry Hungry Hippos. Outbidding even Paul McCartney himself, Michael shelled out a cool $47.5 million to purchase the ATV music catalog, which included a treasure trove of over 250 Beatles songs. Yes, He bought the Beatles' music because apparently owning your own hits wasn't enough when you could also collect your friends' royalties like Pokemon cards. This wasn't just a smart move, it was pop star capitalism turned up to 11. A decade later, he joined forces with Sony, forming Sony ATV and selling half the stake for a tidy $90 million, doubling his investment with the flair of a moonwalk exit. That deal alone turned into a revenue-generating machine. By 2012, the catalog was reportedly bringing in $1,025 billion through licenses and royalties. That's enough to buy a fleet of giraffes in tuxedos, or, fund global music dominance for decades. Even better, Michael still pocketed 15% of the earnings annually, essentially earning passive income while sipping Pepsi and dodging tabloid headlines. Critics may have raised eyebrows, but business experts tipped their glittery hats, because MJ didn't just play the game. He bought the board, the dice, and the banker's pen. The move proved that beneath the rhinestones and high notes was a businessman sharper than most Wall Street wolves. And if you ever doubted that pop icons could be business moguls, just remember, Michael Jackson made money every time someone hummed, "Hey Jude." That's not just savvy, that's billionaire brilliance with a beat. For a man who earned over $2 billion during his lifetime, Michael Jackson's finances were a roller coaster that made Wall Street look like a teacup ride. While he was busy breaking records and reinventing the music industry, his spending habits were also performing pirouettes of their own. And let's just say, budgeting wasn't exactly part of the choreography. Michael didn't just spend big, he spent like money had an expiration date. Lavish homes, endless staff, exotic animals, legal bills, and the kind of shopping sprees that made accountants weep into their spreadsheets. It all added up faster than his moonwalk. By the time of his untimely death in 2009, despite once standing atop a billion-dollar empire, Jackson was reportedly swimming in over $400 million in debt, proving that even the king of pop wasn't immune to the royal pain of financial mismanagement. But in true MJ fashion, even his will was a production. Filed shortly before his death, it meticulously outlined that 40% of his estate would go to his children, 40% to his mother Catherine, and the remaining 20% to charity, a philanthropic moonwalk into the hearts of fans and nonprofits alike. Interestingly, his will explicitly excluded his ex-wife and father, which many speculated was less about drama and more about clarity, or maybe just a final mic drop from beyond. While many estates spiral into legal chaos, the Jackson estate did the unthinkable. It bounced back stronger than ever, paying off debts and transforming into a financial juggernaut under savvy management. The posthumous business plan might have been more effective than the one he had while alive, and that's saying something. It's a tale both triumphant and cautionary. No matter how many Grammys line your shelves, unchecked extravagance can sneak up like a glitter-covered tax bill. Still, few artists left the world with such generosity baked into their legacy. In the end, Michael didn't just leave wealth. He left a financial masterclass wrapped in sequins and surrounded by lawyers. If you thought Michael Jackson's story ended in 2009, think again. Because in one of history's greatest posthumous plot twists, MJ's estate pulled off a comeback bigger than any farewell tour. After his passing, the king of pop became the king of profit. Through streaming royalties, music rights, merchandise, documentaries, and tribute shows that sell out faster than you can say Billie Jean, Jackson's estate has earned an eye-watering $2.1 billion since his death. Yes, you read that right. The man has made more money dead than most artists do alive, proving that his brand has more staying power than a Vegas residency. On Spotify, his songs still rack up over 25 million monthly listeners, while his YouTube channel boasts more than 22 million subscribers and routinely pulls 140 million views per month. Enough traffic to make most influencers cry into their ring lights. His Instagram account, maintained by his estate, has over 6 million followers, and it's updated so consistently you'd think he was managing it from Neverland. Meanwhile, tribute tours, licensing deals, and posthumous releases continue to generate revenue streams that rival entire music labels. Thriller remains the best-selling album of all time, holding strong at over 120 million copies, and the upcoming Broadway shows and biopics are only expected to boost that number. Financial experts often compare his estate to a Fortune 500 company, one built on sequins, genius, and just a touch of glittery chaos. At this point, even Warren Buffett might be asking for management tips from the Jackson estate's legal team. Michael's billion-dollar afterlife isn't just about money, it's about cultural immortality. Few artists remain this commercially viable more than a decade after passing. But then again, few were Michael Jackson. In a world where fame fades fast, MJ proved that true icons never die. They just get remastered in 4K and streamed 90 million times a month.